Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hi, my Kardec Radio friends. This is John DeRosa coming to you once again on Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock with a reading from the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life, written by the Spirit Emmanuel and given to us through the mediumship of Francisco Candido Xavier. Each Thursday at 4, we bring you one of the chapters, and today's chapter is number 148, entitled Watch Yourself. And we will, of course, read the chapter and try to offer some comments about it and maybe some encouragement to practice what is, say, a little prayer to close out, especially for peace. I think we're all aware that peace is so important these days, and it's of course it's the peace within ourselves that is the most that we can do to bring peace into the world, because if each one of us practices peace within ourselves, then it manifests in the rest of the world. So let us begin. As we mentioned, the chapter is number 148, Watch Yourself. And the New Testament reading is from the Apostle Paul. It's the first letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 16. And Paul wrote, "Persevere in watching yourself and the doctrine carefully, because by doing so, you will save both yourself and those who hear you." Emmanuel takes this particular New Testament quote and he writes for us, "There are platoons of the army of pessimists everywhere. Their arms are crossed in discouragement. They do not understand work, trust, peace of mind, or living faith, and they usually employ phrases that make great impact as they criticize people and situations. At times, these soldiers of negativity are people who have taken on the responsibility of guiding others. But despite the importance of their position, they are in the wrong. Earthly difficulties are enormous indeed, and they demand a great effort from noble souls in transit on the planet. Nevertheless, each disciple must watch him or herself. It is essential to watch one's inner life carefully, to value and accept discipline, and examine the needs of the heart. This procedure leads our spirit towards vaster horizons, enabling it to broaden its understanding, which makes us harbor an inner sacred respect for every area of evolution. This, in turn, expands our patrimony of constructive hope and renewing optimism. To watch ourselves carefully entails working on our own salvation and the redemption of others. This is the logical way to acquire lasting values. To circumscribe oneself to theoretical excesses and avoid spiritually constructive service means that one is resting on the margins of work, gradually placing oneself on the thankless terrain of diabolical criticism about everything that is not the object of one's attention and experience. Well, Emmanuel It's so interesting how this particular message during these times that we find ourselves in, especially over this last several months, the separation between the people at one end of the political spectrum and at the other end of the political spectrum, I guess you could call it the conservatives and the liberals, but it is much more than that. I think it's more the people that are, or at least should be, concerned about other people more than themselves. And then you have the people that are apparently concerned more about themselves than about other people. We will go back to this message and take a look at each one of the paragraphs, because each one of the paragraphs has a lot of punch in them. And first, we're talking about the army of pessimists that are everywhere, and that's so true. They're in our political system. They're in certain parts of the state governments, probably parts of the city governments. They're in our, in our schools, in parent-teachers groups, parents of students. There are so many areas that you find this. We've got people rallying for and against abortion. We've got people for and against vaccines for the COVID-19, for and against for climate change, LGBTQ people, for and against, especially the transgender people now. The Black Lives issue, critical race theory, inflation. I mean, it's the list. The list is pretty intense, and you find, as Emmanuel writes in this next paragraph, they do not understand work, trust, peace of mind, or living faith, and they usually employ phrases that make great impact as they criticize people and situations. And that's what's happening now. Instead of I'll take one of the subjects that's very current today, the abortion issue and the Roe versus Wade case that apparently the Supreme Court is ready to overturn. And it doesn't really matter whether you believe that you can use abortion or you can't use abortion, or you're pro-life or pro-choice. These two extremes, and pro-life and pro-choice. Pro-choice is an extreme because we're ending the child's life, the baby's life, and it's not right. It's outright killing of the infant. Now, if the mother's life is in danger, that's a different story. Then the life of the infant is sacrificed because the mother is here already. And you have people on the pro-life side that want to pass a law that says you can't abort a baby or a fetus. Well, there's already a commandment that says thou shalt not kill. Now, here we are passing a law making it more difficult for people to have abortions. Does that solve anything? I don't think so. There should be a union of the pro-life and the pro-choice group to work together to basically eradicate the need for abortion. That women that have a child and are in dire circumstances, they need help. They need help finding work, or they need help with the living situations. There are plenty of organizations. I know there's a number of organizations. One that we're very familiar with is the Birthright, and they help women go through the 9 months of pregnancy and bringing the child to term. They helped him find an adoption, if that's the particular choice, or they helped him find work and other financial support that they need to keep that child. And this working together, but at the same time, on the pro-choice side, there also should be this area for helping the expected mother to navigate through the difficulty in understanding that, hey, the baby's coming and we need help. And many of them want or need specialized attention because of possible miscarriages that might happen. They also might feel necessary to end the pregnancy because of some deformity that may be there, and that's their decision. We should try to bring all pregnancies. Now, you also get into this debate about rape and incest, and it's a terrible thing to happen, but it really is not an excuse to end the pregnancy. If anything, it is better to bring that child to term and then make arrangements to have it adopted or foster care until it is adopted. There are so many ways to handle the situation, but I don't want to. I think I've dwelled on it enough already. This whole idea of abortion, but it's a key. It talks about, see, they're soldiers of negativity, people who have taken on the responsibility of guiding others, and there's so many people in this, in these various things: this vaccine, the climate change, the transgender, it's the race, the critical race theory, and inflation, too much gas prices. These are all, and they're people at high levels, maybe some even the preachers and clergy that are talking about this. And it doesn't really matter how high up they are, because they're many ways misleading people, not really helping the situation. And then there's another paragraph in here where he says, earthly difficulties are enormous indeed. They demand great effort from noble souls in the transit on the planet. And there's no doubt we are still on a planet of suffering, trials, and tribulations. And these things that are happening to us are trying to wake us up. This vaccine, COVID-19, this climate change. I mean, these are things that are really rattling each one of us, and it doesn't seem to be getting as much results as it should. But eventually it will, because God, in His infinite wisdom, will continue to teach us. Each day, something else will be available to help us, to teach us. Each disciple must watch him or herself. It is essential to watch one's inner life carefully, to value and accept discipline and examine the needs of the heart. And this is what Paul is talking about to Timothy, to make sure your heart is at peace. And that peace is what we need, as we talked about earlier. Peace in our heart. And how do we build peace in our heart? We start by having that peace that spreads to our spouse, our family members, our friends, our workers. This is key to building that peace that will radiate throughout our society. And he says this procedure leads our spirit towards vast horizons, enabling it to broaden its understanding, which makes us harbor an inner sacred respect for every area of evolution. And we evolve ourselves, as Emmanuel has written, in so many different ways. The interaction with people, the interaction with animals, the interaction with plants, and even the minerals. Everything we interact with, everything we emit in our thoughts, in our words, in our feelings, and of course in how we treat other people and what we do. Each day is filled with opportunities to build this inner spirituality and to evolve ourselves. This in turn expands our patrimony of constructive hope and renewing. And of course, patrimony is heritage, constructive, the heritage of hope and renewing optimism. And things are changing, things are getting better. We all have examples of that. That one CBS show that I love called Uplift. You watch that and you see the beauty that's taking place in our society of people helping people. And it spans the spectrum of the young people on up to us older folks. And Emmanuel ends with his last paragraph, to circumscribe oneself to theoretical excesses. And circumscribe is restrict. So you're restricting oneself to theoretical excesses and avoid spiritually constructive service, not always seeking the good. I don't think everybody leaves out doing the good all the time, but it should be a mantra that we have within ourselves to always be seeking out constructive service to help people. And that is resting on the margins of work, gradually placing oneself on the thankless terrain of diabolical criticism about everything that is not the object of one's attention and experience. Do you have the attention, which many people do place their attention on these items that we talked about, but do they have real experience with those items to be able to offer any type of opinion about them? Most likely, it's the typical complaint. Complaining never solved anything. Understanding and cooperation is what leads one to solutions for these things. Anyway, we're going to stop here. Tony, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate you being here. And we're going to say a little prayer. Let's take a deep breath in and release. And thank Mother, Father, God for allowing us another day on this earth plane to watch ourselves and to hopefully help other people in their quest to release themselves from complaining about things and start to help other people and themselves by building that peace within themselves, knowing that complaining about things will not bring a solution, but having the serenity and the willpower and the courage to, first of all, help ourselves and to expand that love for ourselves to our family and friends, and to take advantage of those opportunities that are presented each day, because they're there each day to help us. We will foster and hopefully help people bring God back into their lives. Encouraging people to pray, encouraging people to see God in their fellow man or woman, to see God in nature, and to always implore the prayer and the help from God for our society, for our families, and all over the world. We can help that Ukraine-Russian situation by building the peace within ourselves. It is a very challenging task, but we can do it. It's just what Spiritism talks about very often, effort and repetition. Yes, we're going to mess up. There's no doubt about it. We're not at that higher level of evolution yet, but we need to continue to try and put the effort into it. The willpower, effort, and repetition will bring us to that peace that we need to distribute that among our family members, friends, and neighbors, and people that we meet. It starts with doing those simple things for people, saying hello, smiling, holding a door open, asking if somebody needs help. We are so grateful for your guidance and protection during this meeting, and we ask your permission to end this little prayer for peace, and so be it. Well, thank you, my dear friends, and Andrea, thank you for joining us today. And we will sign off with love and peace and building in my heart, and hopefully expanding it to all those who joined us here today and those that may join us. We bid you farewell and look forward to next Thursday. I mean, we'll be here nourishing our souls with Kardec Radio. Thank you for tuning in to Kardec Radio, where we are always nourishing our souls.